pretty bleak.
Hope. That little word that holds so much meaning has Surfside praying for a miracle. That's Nightly News for this Friday. A programming note, be sure to catch Nightly News Kids Edition tomorrow morning here on NBC. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night.
Do you remember exactly when our world changed last year? As of now, in Oregon and Washington, it's no longer optional to practice social distancing. It is now the law in both states.
Well, finally, 15 months later, things are about to get back to normal-ish.
By Wednesday, June 30th, we will lift the safety protocols we have relied on and reopen our economy.
Even though we may not hit that magic number. And a lot of you are probably thinking that 110 degree plus heat we're about to get is a pretty obvious sign of climate change. Well, yeah, and also no. Because like everything else these days, it's not exactly simple. Here's the story.
Sometime soon, you'll be able to hug strangers again. Here we go. I should stop hugging strangers. I'm Dan Haggerty. Welcome to The Story. All the ways to communicate with us at the bottom of your screen. Use the hashtag HeyDan on Twitter. Make sure you reach out to us over email at thestory@kgw.com and find me on Facebook and Instagram. Let's get going. This is the big story, and boy, oh boy, is it a biggie. Now, it's been more than a year in the making. The state of Oregon is reopening on June 30th, no matter what. Despite the fact that up until now, the governor has been telling us that she was only going to open it back up if 70% of adults get vaccinated, no matter what. Yes, I know it's another example of questionable messaging. And one of the main reasons I avoid the phrase no matter what, no matter what. So finally, we have a concrete date. We asked Governor Kate Brown what exactly made her change her mind.
My goal has been to reach 70% of Oregonians. We are nearly there and expect it to happen in the next several days. Obviously, businesses and venues need certainty in terms of reopening and when we will fully reopen. And at this point in time, we've vaccinated over 2.3 million Oregonians, nearly 7 out of 10. And we obviously will be moving in alignment with Washington. We're hoping to beat Washington, of course.
A little competition. Maybe we beat them. Maybe we beat Washington to 70%. But look, the odds of either state reaching that mark in the next 5 days, according to the numbers, is all but impossible, which is maybe why she's opening now. Maybe why Jay Inslee announced that opening a while ago in Washington. Now, if you've been watching this show recently and watching me, you know that I've been saying for weeks that we should really just reopen the state, and that, in my opinion, that 70% metric was an arbitrary metric for reopening. After all, almost everyone who wants a vaccine can get the vaccine right now, and we can't keep punishing businesses because of people who refuse to get the vaccine. Perhaps the governor's a viewer. I'm not sure. Probably not. But to better understand why she really made that change, I talked to our reporter, Pat Doris.
Okay, so let's talk to Pat Doris for just a moment. Pat, can you tell us what changed here? Because the numbers, the outlooks, they really don't look much different today as they did a few weeks ago. What changed to make this decision, you think?
Well, if you go back 2 or 3 weeks, there's probably 30,000 people that got vaccinated in between now and then. But I think really the most powerful thing probably was the governor looking at the dropping vaccination rate and the fact that California has already opened and Washington's going to open on the 30th, whether Oregon's ready or not.
Yeah, we see that rate dropping and dropping. Do you think that there is any hope at this point that we would get to that 70% mark by July 1st or even July 4th, which was kind of the initial goal?
No, I don't think so. I was just checking the numbers this afternoon. There's about 31,000 still to go. Yesterday, 4,000 people got the shot, 4,000 new people. The day before that, it was like 3,000. But no, it's, no. I expect It's just going to keep going down from here.
So we got a viewer question I'd like to read to you really quickly. This one comes from Darla. She says, please get some clarification about when the state is reopening. So is it on June 30th or after June 30th, as in July 1st? People are chomping at the bit here. They want the details.
It's a great question, Darla. It's going to be on June 30th. So 12:01 and boom, all the restrictions go away. I should tell you, I've heard already that some people are dropping restrictions. I heard about a hair salon that shortly after they heard about the governor's announcement, they said, okay, fine, nobody has to wear a mask in here anymore.
Really? Okay. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. Keep us up to date. Let us know what happens next, Pat.
Yes, my pleasure, Dan.
Thanks.
All right, now, even though we already know that both Oregon and Washington will reopen at the end of the month, let's keep counting vaccines no matter what. According to the CDC, 2.44 million Oregonians have gotten at least their first dose. That works out to be 69.1% of the state's adult population. We're pretty close to that 70%, but we still need about 31,000 people in Oregon to get vaccinated to hit that. In Washington, the state is reporting 4.19 million people with at least their first dose, and that is 68.2% of their state's 16 and older population. That's the metric they're using. Again, both states are going to reopen by the end of the month, or earlier, actually, if either of us hit that 70% mark before that. Now, restaurants, they have been surviving this pandemic with outdoor dining, but something tells me patios are going to be bare this weekend because the heat is going to be almost unbearable. I know you keep checking the forecast on your phones. Here's what our meteorologists are saying right now. 104 tomorrow, 110 on Sunday, insane, 106 on Monday. Now, I know a lot of you have been pointing to these record-breaking numbers like 110 in Oregon, and saying right here, that is an example of climate change. The thing is, that's not exactly the metric that we look at when making that decision, at least not on its own. Instead, we pay attention to trends. We pay attention to kind of the long-term big picture. And for that, I want to bring in meteorologist Chris McGinnis. I know you did some digging on the numbers of the hot days that Portland has seen over the last several decades. What can you tell us about that?
It was pretty interesting. For one, it was a heck of a lot of data to crunch through. I mean, we're talking 81 years of records that was compiled by Clinton Rocky out at the National Weather Service office in Portland. The spreadsheet's available on their website. It's not as nice and neat. I had to do a lot of work to crunch through it, but here's basically what it amounts to. So this graphic that you're looking at here represents 90-degree days at PDX, the period of record from 1941, that's when the observation started at PDX, to 2020. I didn't want to include this summer's 90-degree heat yet, or let me rephrase that. I didn't want to include this summer's 90-degree heat yet because it would kind of mess up this nice little pie chart that I got. But suffice this to say, what I want to call your attention to is that we've had 970 some odd 100-degree days in Portland in that period of record. 1/3 of those 90-degree days have occurred in the last 20 years. So 1/3 of those 90-degree days have occurred in the last 25% of the record. So that in and of itself, I think, is pretty impressive. 325 90-degree days as of the end of 2019. Also, what's pretty interesting to note is the rate, okay? So 973 total 90-degree days, 641 of those, or 648 of those occurred before the year 2000, occurring at a rate of about 11 per year. You fast forward into the year 2000 and beyond, we're now accruing 90-degree days at 15 and a half per year. And if you look at the rate that we're on right now, our all-time record is 31. We did that in the summer of 2018, and that bettered 2015's record of 25. You get the idea, right? Or 29, excuse me. So the 90-degree tally continues to increase here in the last 10 or 15 years, and that is what the data shows us. So you can draw anything that you want out of that, but that is hard data. Those are measurements, and some of the records that we're looking at this weekend, June all-time record, blown out of the water tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. The all-time hottest temperature on record at PDX, 107. We are very likely to break that on Sunday. All-time warmest overnight lows. We're likely to set a few warm overnight lows, but the all-time is 74. We are quite likely to break that on Monday morning. And most 90-degree days in the month of June is 9, set back in 2015. If our forecast verifies, we think we'll get to 10 this month.
My brain is overheating with all those numbers you threw at us.
It's a lot of numbers,
yeah,
but
I get the point.
The bottom line is it's hard to ignore. Since 2000, we know we have great data to show that the last 20 years have been warm and getting warmer here in Portland. And just for kicks, I wanted to look up 100-degree numbers, Dan. So I did that just now. Portland has hit 100 degrees or better in that 1941 to 2020 timeframe 91 times. We've only done it 7 in the month of June, 7 ever.
Yeah.
We're about to rip off 3 consecutive 90-degree days in June.
100-degree days.
Or 100-degree days, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, thanks for breaking the numbers down for us, man. I wouldn't have done it. I appreciate you doing it.
My
for
head
us
hurts.
instead, doing the work. Yeah. Now, look, there's no easy way to say this next line as we talk about this topic, because for the people who are living on our streets, this heat could very easily become deadly. So with that in mind, the people who work day in and day out with Portland's homeless, they are racing to spread the word and to get people inside. Here's Maggie Vespa.
Okay, cool. We're gonna put a couple of this.
Record heat is coming.
We usually have dominate like popsicles for people right now because we're trying to help with the whole heat.
For those with little to no escape,
But also we carry a lot of water right now. Yeah, it's starting to get hot.
the next few days could prove dangerous,
Good morning. Outreach team, anybody home?
even deadly.
Sleeping.
Social service providers who work with Portland's homeless feel like
Good morning.
they
Outreach
can't
team, anybody
stop.
home? How's your morning going?
Friday, this crew from the nonprofit
Oh, yeah,
Transition
definitely.
Project spent hours handing out supplies and spreading the word.
Mostly we're the ones informing people. They don't know that, it's going to be 110, 111, or even 100 degrees. So when we tell them they have a surprise on their face, they're really like, wow, okay, well, thank you. But we ensure that we're going to be there no matter what. We're going to bring jugs of water, as you can see, water bottles, and they're very confident that they're going to be okay through the weather. But yeah, they count on us, definitely.
We saw proof of that several times.
Well, I just found out like 10 seconds ago how hot it's going to be.
Jim says he'll be fine.
I'm more concerned about, especially the mentally handicapped and challenged people out here on the streets that really aren't cognitively aware enough to drink the fluid.
He added he would go to a cooling center if any were open. That's a huge part of this work too.
Right across the bridge by the motor center, right there. Yeah. So
because there are multiple.
There'll be snacks and whatnot, so you can stay cool and drink some water and just stay out of the sun. Okay.
She's talking about this space in the Oregon Convention Center. Friday morning, crews were getting ready to start setting up tables and chairs. It'll be open from 1 to 9 p.m. every day through early next week.
This is a place where anybody can come to just get a break from the heat, and it's really important to give your body some rest periods because it's work. It's work for your body to keep you cool.
People here will be urged to wear masks, but officials vow they won't turn anyone away. To help those staying outside, the county is letting nonprofits stock up on water and supplies via this storage center downtown. Officials estimate they'll dole out 80,000 water bottles this week. Work like this, options like these, it's all so much more important, providers say, in a post-COVID world. Because during the pandemic, keep in mind, Portland's homeless lost access to a lot of indoor settings that have air conditioning, places like libraries, coffee shops, and so on.
How you doing, bro? Good morning. Outreach team, how y'all doing?
Vital resources to try and keep people on Portland streets safe as temperatures soar.
Are these guys lifesavers for you?
They saving lives. Man, without them, I don't even think there would be any lives out here, man. These people are so good.
Maggie Vespa.
You just feel it. See the chills?
KGW News.
God bless you, man.
Now, I want to remind everybody about our Hey Help campaign. This week, we are asking you to please consider donating to One Tail at a Time PDX. They're a dog rescue in Portland. Last year, they rescued more than 350 dogs. So to donate, just open the camera on your phone, point it at the QR code on your screen, or you can go to our website, kgw.com/heyhelp, and your donation helps them tremendously. Look at these cuties. They shelter these dogs. This guy, Hot Rod is his name, obviously. He was able to get surgeries because of donations like yours, and now he's got a great pair of wheels and he's back to it. And Bernadette, our director Jay, fostered her and then adopted her. Your donations will also help dogs like her get spayed and neutered and get the surgeries that help keep them healthy. Again, go to kgw.com/heyhelp. We're calling it a micro donation drive, so please feel free to give any amount you want to cute faces like that one.
Did you see this story out of Eastern Oregon? A pet chimpanzee attacked a woman in a backyard, then got shot and killed by a deputy. So it got me thinking, what are the laws around owning exotic animals in Oregon? And we've been talking a lot about the huge spike in gun violence around here, but it's not just a Portland problem, not by a long shot. In fact, Now the president's getting involved when the story continues. Welcome back. I was just reading through some emails. We'll address a few of them at the end of the show. I always appreciate your thoughts and feedback. We steer the show with the words you tell us every night, with your with the way you respond to our stories. Keep doing so. Use that hashtag HeyDan on Twitter or email us at thestory@kgw.com. So there are no more pet chimpanzees in Oregon. This was the last one. His name was Buck. He lived with a family in Yamhill County for 17 years, and as you can see, he was a part of the family, a big part of the family, literally. He weighed between 200 and 250 pounds. He ate at the kitchen table, which is not where large apes typically eat. Raising a chimp like Buck in this way, in that type of environment, has, strangely, in my opinion, been a contentious topic over the years. Their owners think of these animals as family, especially when they're as sophisticated as chimps. Others think that that type of environment is cruel and dangerous. And in Buck's case, I think it was both. On Sunday, he attacked his owner's 50-year-old daughter. He bit her on the body and on the arms and legs and could have easily killed her. Listen to the 911 call that came in as the woman, the mom, was guarding her daughter and barricading the two in the basement.
We need an ambulance and we need an armed deputy.
What's going on?
My pet chimpanzee has attacked my daughter. She's bleeding profusely, and the animal has to be shot. It has attacked my 50-year-old daughter. She needs an ambulance. The ambulance cannot get to her because I've locked myself in the basement with her. I can't get out to get my own gun.
Okay.
She's on the patio. You're going to have to do a headshot.
We're sending a deputy right now. Hang on one second, okay? I'm typing this up right now.
More than one, because the ape, if the ape gets a drop on him, he's gone too.
How about that last sentence? Now, she couldn't put pressure on her daughter's wound because she had to keep Buck from breaking down the door. You see, the reason Buck is the last pet chimp in Oregon is because it's now illegal to own them. Buck was grandfathered in after a law that passed in 2009, banning exotic pets like chimps and tigers and lions and alligators, which were actually kind of prevalent not long ago. In 1992 in Portland, an 11-year-old was attacked by a liger. That is a lion-tiger combo. In 1997 in Scappoose, a woman was mauled by her neighbor's pet leopard. In 2005 in Lane County, a pet alligator got loose for 3 days. And in Beaverton, Al the alligator, back in the day, was a fixture on the local news because neighbors were up in arms over the idea of a 5-foot reptile living next door. At that time, Mark Hass was the lawmaker for that district and led the charge to ban these types of pets statewide. I talked to him recently about that time, more than a decade ago at this point, and about the backlash that he got for telling people that they can't own something like an alligator or a tiger or a grizzly bear.
Dan, people came out of the woodwork. I have a right. You can't tell me what to do. That was part of it. There are certain people who just say they want to bond with these wild animals. And I just didn't understand it.
Now, despite the backlash, the law passed. And while the state, they tell me they don't have any records to show how many exotic animals were licensed in the state prior to the law passing, right now there are just 16 animals under that category living here legally. 3 Capuchin monkeys, which are those little ones like Marcel from the show Friends, 8 lemurs, 1 serval, which is a wild African cat that gets to be about 30 pounds, 1 lynx, and 3 alligators. Then again, that's all we know about, right? I mean, the Department of Agriculture told me that police will find some of these unregistered animals during search warrants on other crimes. Last summer, a man in West Lynn found a serval on the side of 205 after it was hit by a car. And for the record, again, these cats are native to sub-Saharan Africa, not Oregon. And I'm guessing it didn't make its way to the Beaver State on its own. So, yes, Buck was the last pet chimp in the state that the state knows about. Buck was a beautiful and complex creature. Do you know that chimps have more DNA in common with humans than they do with monkeys? I mean, I understand the fascination, I do. But in this case, Buck's journey, his life in Yamhill County, ended with a bullet from a deputy who came to that house and shot Buck with 1 bullet and killed him. The sheriff's department released video of that too, but it's pretty sad. So I'll spare you. We're still getting a lot of questions and comments on our Understanding Gun Violence special edition of the story that we aired earlier this week. So please keep sending those in. You keep using that hashtag #HeyDan. But I do want to get to one from Deanna that we actually got before that special aired. And she asked, I'm hoping that your special coverage of Portland gun violence will include a comparison to other major cities. It would be good to see how much of this is part of a national trend and how much is local. So let's take a look at some of the numbers, shall we, from police departments in more than 60 major cities across the country. This shows the number of homicides in each city in 2020 compared to 2019. If the number is red on the chart here, that means homicides increased. And you can see there's a lot of red on the chart. Now, not all homicides are shootings, of course, but this still gives you a pretty good idea of the trend increase. Now, let's look at aggravated assaults in those same cities between 2019 and 2020. Again, you can see all those red numbers, which means assaults went up in almost every city that's listed there. These aren't necessarily all shootings either, so keep that in mind, but someone can be charged with aggravated assault if they shoot and injure someone. We also checked out the data for the first part of this year, so murders and assaults, and they are up in a majority of those cities compared to the first part of last year. Now, if you need more evidence that gun violence is a nationwide problem right now, President Biden actually gave a speech on it this week, and he announced a major crackdown on guns used in violent crimes by holding illegal gun dealers accountable. He pledged more support for local law enforcement across the country. He also called on Congress to pass gun violence legislation like background checks and assault weapons bans and the Violence Against Women Act. Biden also spoke about addressing the root causes of gun violence by increasing social programs in some of the communities hit hardest by what he is calling a second public health crisis.
Mr. President, what do you feel is the most effective thing that government can do to change the mindset of those who feel compelled to pull the triggers of these guns?
By being engaged in a whole range of programs we talked today, everything from mental health programs to engaging people early on and letting them know there's other options. making sure that when a child is young, they have access to real education. They get started off on the right foot. Making sure that when someone gets out of prison, they're not denied public housing. They don't have to go back under the bridge where they're living before, that they're able to get help for health care, et cetera. And re-engaging them in the neighborhood, giving them some hope, some opportunity. And in the meantime, making sure that those folks who are taking advantage of them by taking advantage of their situation are in fact held accountable.
Now, we talked about a lot of these factors and some of the possible solutions in our city for what's happening here in Portland on our special Understanding Gun Violence. If you missed it earlier this week, you can watch the entire show on KGW's YouTube page right now. Let's get back to the heat for just a minute, since that's really, I think, what everybody's talking about. Certainly what we're all going to be talking about this weekend for the next couple of days. Lisa sent me this on Twitter. Hi, Dan and the team. With the expected 105 to 108 temperatures this weekend, is there a point where we should be concerned about driving? At what point is the pavement too hot for our tires to safely drive on? Interesting question. All right, we did some research. It looks like your car is in the clear, all right? The rubber used in car tires won't melt until it gets about, 1,100 degrees. And that's a good 1,000 or so degrees over what's forecasted this weekend. So I don't think there's much of a chance that we will reach that or that your car will be in trouble. But if you want to do a little sidewalk cooking maybe this weekend, probably going to be a good time. An egg can cook on 130 to 160 degrees, depending on how runny you like your eggs. Now, the pavement can actually reach those temperatures in 100 degrees plus, and we're looking to possibly get to 110, so I like mine over medium. You want some cheese on your omelet? That melts between 90 and 180 degrees, and depending on how soft or hard the cheese is, that will melt accordingly. So if you decide to make some breakfast on the sidewalk, don't forget the bacon, and don't forget to use the hashtag HeyDan. Not sure if you want an egg fried on the ground, but hey, that's your choice. All right, keep sending us questions and comments. Use the hashtag HeyDan. I'm going to read a few as we finish the week and the story right after this. Hey, quick correction real fast on the chimpanzee story that aired just before the commercial. I was saying Yamhill County. My producer told me I said Yamhill County. I meant Umatilla. So quick correction there. Sorry to anybody for the confusion. I got to get to one question here. This comes in on Twitter. Hey, Dan, wasn't the Oregon State COVID lottery supposed to be earlier this week? What happened to that? It was Greg wrote that in. So Greg and anybody else who is interested, they're actually doing the drawing on Monday. So the 28th is when the drawing happens. And all we know is that the winners are going to be announced the following week. So cross your fingers while you're sitting at home, hopefully in some air conditioning or in a pool or with a cold drink or something. It's going to be like what did they say? It was 1,000 degrees this weekend. Hey, have a good one. I'll see you Monday.